She had come over for my daughter's birthday party. Before she left, I told her I loved her, and she said, "You should come see me more often."
Susan Cummings was a loving mother to her children, a cherished sister, and an important member of her community.
She had a heart to serve. She was a nurse. She loved to help people. She made it a point to be at graduation parties and birthday parties, even in her superhero costume, I like to call it, which was her scrubs.
In the early morning hours of August 8, 2015, Susan rode in a charity bike ride to raise money for water wells in Kenya. Her son Kenny learned there had been an accident involving his mom.
I was actually preparing for a business trip. I was going to get up early and head to the airport when I got a call. And so I answered the phone, and it was my mom's best friend, Nancy. She goes, "Kenny, your mom has been in a car accident." I go, "Is she okay?" And she goes, "No, she died. She's dead, and I'm so sorry." I couldn't believe it. I was in total shock.
When you get words like that, it's just like a punch in the gut.
When it set in and what had happened, the details of what had happened, that she was actually struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver, I was furious. That someone would take not only a human life, it would take my mother from me and leave her there to die as if she was worthless.
Soon after, a man named Ronnie Joe Claflin turned himself in.
When Ronnie ultimately came forward, I was relieved to finally have a scapegoat for all the anger and frustration that I was dealing with and hurt, to be able to put it on someone, be able to finally look at that person and really judge them for what they had done in my mind.
Tom, a pastor, says he knew almost immediately he would have to forgive his sister's killer.
The reason I was able to choose to forgive is when I was 16, I was jumped by 5 or 6 black guys that stomped me and broke my nose and stole my bike and just left me there basically for dead. And in that moment, I had a feeling of racism that injured my heart. And it wasn't until I saw, I believe it was Rodney King getting beat down on national television, that the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, "It's not the color of a man's skin, but the spirit that drives him." And so in that moment, before the television, I just said, "God, I'm sorry. Forgive me."
The family would eventually learn that Ronnie had been using inhalants the day of the accident. Ronnie's trial and sentencing was almost a year later. It would be the family's first interaction with the man who had killed Susan. Then, shortly before the trial, something unusual happened.
Ronnie had chose to plead guilty and wanted to meet with us behind closed doors, which, by the way, never happens. A lot of emotions were in the room that day. But before we began that meeting with Ronnie, before he entered the room, we prayed. And so we invited the Holy Spirit there, and then Ronnie and the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney walked in through the door. And Ronnie was already tearful, already remorseful. And there was a lot of crying in the room. And as you can imagine, we were finally seeing this man for the first time. I asked Ronnie, I said, "Ronnie, are you sorry for what you did?" And of course, at that moment, Ronnie said, I do, I'm sorry. But each of my family members, including Susan's boyfriend, Roddy, all said, "I forgive you."
At the trial, most of the family members were there and shared their forgiveness publicly.
We all prepared a statement of mercy. We all read through and confirmed to the court and to the judge that we had forgiven Ronnie, and that we sought mercy for him on his behalf.
Grace showed up in that courtroom. Even the judge said, "In all my 20 years, I have never seen this happen in my courtroom."
In 2016, Contributions poured in for the Kenyan Water Well project that Susan had given her life for.
I was invited to go to Kenya to dedicate a water well in Susan's honor. It was so overwhelming to go to a place on the other side of the globe and hear my sister being heralded as a hero. I just can't begin to put into words what I was experiencing, and we were hearing them singing joys about my sister.
Tom says he hopes the grace their family showed to Ronnie will help others see the power of forgiveness.
Jesus tells us to forgive. He said, if you forgive, then I'll forgive. If you don't forgive, then I won't forgive. It's so powerful to think that Jesus, while hanging on the cross, and he looked down at them and said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We think we're holding our offender in prison, but it's actually us. We're holding ourselves hostage. But when we say, I choose to forgive. And we choose to forgive, we again faith it until we make it. We begin to say, I forgive, until that feeling becomes a reality.